what are we going to do with the talent that we've been given and the vision that we've
Right.
been given?
Welcome to Creativity with Purpose, where we explore the stories, struggles, and sparks that shape our creative lives. I'm your host, Ann Marachek, author, healer, and believer in the power of meaningful expression. Together, we'll dive deep into what it means to create with heart, live with intention, and heal through the beauty of storytelling.
I'm Ann Marachek, and this is Creativity with Purpose. Sarah Lynn was born and raised in Jackson Township, Ohio, close to North Canton. She acquired her bachelor's degree in Christian worship at Malone University. Sarah earned her master's degree in communications with a public relations focus at the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communication. Though the majority of her work has been in the marketplace, Sarah has been involved in ministry for 15 years. She more recently released her award-winning debut novel, Between the Lines, a novel by Sarah Lynn. She has a heart for encouragement and thrives on creativity. Hi, Sarah. This is fun.
Hi.
So everyone knows I met Sarah. We're both getting an award for our books up in Newark, which was really fun. It was the Independent Press Awards night. So big red carpet walk, black tie gala. It was really a nice weekend. Yeah, exactly. So hi, buddy. So I'm intrigued by Between the Lines. You had mentioned to me earlier that this was actually based on your life experience when you were living in New York at the time. And
Yes.
I guess I would call it cyber stalking.
That's a pretty good word for it. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Oh my gosh. What a journey that must have been. And they always say write what you know, right? So even though this is a fictional take on the book, having come from at least a basis of life experience gives it that grit and that
Yes,
emotional connection.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
So when were you in New York?
I was in New York actually a while ago. It
Uh-huh.
was, I think I moved in 2004,
Okay.
and I stayed through to around when the market crashed. We had the recession, so that would have been like 2008, 2009,
Yeah.
and then I came home.
Yeah. So back to Ohio, I guess.
Back to Ohio at the
Yeah.
time. Yes.
Yeah. Back to the roots. Heritage and family always call us back, don't they?
They
Yeah.
do. They do.
It's good to have those adventures, but home is home, right?
Home is home.
Yeah. So tell me what happened. Well, in a nutshell, what was the situation? How did this person even find you?
Sure. So that's this is why I wrote a book about it, because I wanted to kind of caution the younger generation, but
Sure.
also it's almost unbelievable, when I look back on it. But the story kind of is a fictional take on that, and it sort of starts with um, you know I guess I'll start with my story. I had started dating a friend of mine, and he had gone away for a while. In the midst of that, I started receiving these messages that I thought were from him. And so
Oh,
for the whole time, I mean, it was a good 5 years that I was believing that. And,
oh
the
my
book tells more of
goodness.
the detail, but it was, uh, it was traumatic to say the least.
Say
But
the
that's how it.
least. And so the friend that left wasn't communicating with you.
Well, he was a little bit, but I thought, I guess I'll sort of say it from Ava's perspective. She
Uh-huh.
thinks that he's checking in on her and kind of testing her loyalty, and um, it was a big psychological mind game, I guess, for lack of better
Uh-huh.
way to
Uh-huh.
express that.
Oh my goodness. So in your heroines in the book, in her experience, how did she find the clues? What triggered her awareness eventually that this was not the person she thought she was talking to? I bet there were clues along the way.
There were a little bit, but it always went back to, oh, it must be him because he's talking like him, he sounds like him, he uses the same expressions and words. At the very, I mean, I don't want to give away the story, but
Sure.
the big reveal happens with a phone call, really. And she recognizes his voice. And of course he denies it. And but it's like, no, that's you. I'm pretty sure that's you, So that's how ultimately, that's how it was revealed ultimately. So
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
all right.
So it seems to me that going through this kind of an experience where someone was able to get in your head and convince you that they were someone that they were not, which is an amazing thing. How did that in your own life teach you or transform you? That had to have been a experience that took a lot of self-reflection to move forward from, to move on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In my younger years, I think we're all sort of naive, when we're experiencing love, or what we think is love, for the first time. Maybe we don't have a healthy view of it, or when somebody is able to kind of like pull the wool over our eyes.
Yes.
We I think we have a hard time separating reality from our hopes and what we had envisioned, but also if we're pulling in a history, and kind of weaving a story around that, and not really understanding why this is playing out the way it is, but maybe we tend to think the best of people, so it might be obvious to everyone else around us except us. But that could kind of lead us to seeking the truth. And for me, that really looked like seeking God. That was the only place I really knew to turn to, that I had remembered. I wasn't really, I wasn't following God at the time. I didn't have a relationship with him. And this really drove me to pursue that relationship and find him in a very, very real and tangible way that really lifted the veil from my eyes and, showed me the truth in the matter. But it was, I would say, really pivotal in my relationship with God now. It was definitely foundational, for sure. So it's good came out of it.
Right, exactly. And we are not the traumas that we live.
Right.
They don't define us, but how we move forward through those experiences, and that we do seek self-improvement, betterment, self-expression, right? So not only did you find a faith and a foundation that now serves you much better than the relationship that you thought you were in, right?
Thank
But
God.
you took that purpose and applied it with your own creativity, and now you are an award-winning published author. So how much more perfect is that for creativity with purpose? My goodness. That even though it was a negative experience at the time, and I'm sure it was traumatic, you managed through your spirit and your faith to move through it to a much better place, and to use that, I guess, experience to help others. Because it seems to me that your book may be focused in a way to open the eyes of other people to see that these things actually happen. This is possible.
Absolutely.
And how to not get entangled in this kind of a thing.
Right. And that is a big purpose, of the story, Like I said, I don't know that I'd want to call it a cautionary tale, but it definitely is meant to give awareness, but also weave that truth of where can we really look to for help, where does healing come from, and that would be the purpose. I would just really want to leave a note of encouragement there.
Sure. This was, if this was happening in 2004, this must have been really early on in the whole internet email experience for everyone.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, probably part of, I don't know if I want to say plot, but, the person who was, kind of orchestrating all of this on the other side.
Yeah.
It's probably thought, oh, this is a great way to hide behind. Well, when I got the first message, and in, the story reflects this, that person posed as somebody I knew from high school. So that was the end, but, it was clearly not. So, of course, social media was much different back then.
Yeah.
I guess this would be the first, somebody said this would be like the first catfishing, but I didn't know that wasn't a term back then. And I think that's probably also why, when you read through the story that, I'm Ava, and the main character is getting sucked into it because it's a new medium.
Yeah.
It's not phone, it's not text. It's although phone was becoming popular then too. Mobile phones were kind of on the uprise. So yeah, so absolutely.
That's just amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
It is amazing.
Wow. I wonder how it was even possible for them to know the tone or the expressions of the person that you thought that was this someone that, like a friend of a friend, or?
Well, if I answer that question, I will give away
Oh,
the book. So I can't. I'll email you, but I can't. I don't want to give away the story. So.
There you go. Spoiler alert, right?
Spoiler alert.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my goodness. Well, you have a degree in ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you were saying that you really didn't have that relationship with God. Did the degree come before or after this experience?
It came after. I had started at Kent State with psychology fresh out of high school.
Okay.
And then, decided I was going to pursue my dreams. That's when I decided to move to New York, and life happened in the midst of that. I started working. My parents were having some health issues, so I didn't go back to finish my degree until my mid-30s, my undergrad at the time. So, that I can only imagine what ministry would have looked like before my relationship with God. But, yeah.
So did you end up going back to Ohio to take care of your parents?
That was part of it. There was a recession happening at the time, and I had gone through a layoff, and just nothing was opening up. And
right.
As I was building, that's, another thing is, as I was building my relationship with God, all signs were pointing to home. All signs were pointing to home. And I didn't want to face that at the time because, this was my dream. It was my dream to move to New York. And to me, it was like failing. I couldn't understand. It was just a chapter. It didn't mean life was over and that there was more coming. But the harder I tried to hang on, the more, everything was letting go until I made the decision to come home, and everything just fell into place. That's all the pieces. It was so much easier to go home than it was to try to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't you often find that the universe will guide us? There's no real coincidences. When when your purpose and your motivations are in alignment with what God wants for you in your life, everything just opens up and unfolds very naturally and very easily. But sometimes we
Absolutely.
have to beat our head against the wall for a while before we realize that door is closed. There's another one open over here that we want to use, right?
Right. No, absolutely, for
Oh my
sure.
gosh. Yeah.
Do you want to hear? I have a funny story about
Oh,
that.
sure. Definitely.
So, I was really debating going home. I was having such a hard time with it, and getting counsel about that. But from friends and from a pastor of the church that I had started going to, and it was. I was in church one Sunday and I was praying, Lord, if I really am supposed to go home, you have to make it plain as day. You have to make it clear.
Mhm.
And we were singing a hymn at that time, and I looked down, and the next line in the in the song in the hymn was come home, all who are weary, come home." And I just started laughing, and it was this very serious song, and the people were like, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "I'm like, it's a big neon sign from God, like this is the right path, come home." So yeah,
How much
couldn't have
more
been
obvious
clearer.
can I make it, right?
Yeah, plain as day, plain as day.
Oh,
But that
that's
was a relief
wonderful.
too.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It
Oh
was
my
a
goodness.
relief.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, I think when we return to our roots, so many times we find such a connection there. We find such a purpose and a way to move forward.
Yes,
Yeah, and sometimes we're just so stubbornly hanging on to what we thought was the career choice that was right for us. Yeah. I
absolutely.
I feel like I had to be in a car wreck and have my neck broken to
Read
just make
that.
me off the path that I was on. I was absolutely laser focused on being a concert pianist. And I was prodigy on piano. And by age 14, I had Schumann's piano concerto in A minor ready to perform with an orchestra. And my coach and music teacher at the time was actively looking for places for me to audition, symphonies for me to audition.
Mhm.
And she found a place that they wanted me, but they said at 14, I was really just too young and they really couldn't hire me at 14. But at 16, I was hireable.
Oh,
Uh, I don't know, labor laws maybe or something, but
oh, maybe.
yeah. So, because I wanted to go on tour and perform. So
Yeah.
I had my driver's license for 2 weeks. And of all things, my algebra teacher rear-ended my car as I was driving to school that morning, one morning.
Oh my goodness.
And this was before the days of headrests.
Oh
And
my
I was at a
goodness.
full stop and he was going over 40 miles an hour. And the impact threw me back so hard that it crushed my atlas, which is the top vertebrae.
Oh,
So yeah, it was pretty profound. And they told me I was going to be paralyzed from the neck down. They wanted to put the rod down the spine, glue my head into a halo. Well, glue a bolt.
oh my goodness.
And I just said, no, absolutely no, this is not for me. And it did eventually heal. That was a very, very long road. But
Oh my gosh.
I was forced to pivot because I could no longer practice the hours that it required for the career path that I had chosen. And I switched to composition.
Okay.
Thing that could have ever happened. Because when I finally got to college and majored in music comp, I realized had I been stubbornly hanging on to that first career path, I would have been isolated. I would have lived out of a suitcase, traveling from city to city to city in a hotel room by myself, playing the same piece of music, someone else's music, over
Mm,
and over and over like a robot. And
yeah.
I realized it would have been a lifestyle that was absolutely spirit crushing. It would have been
Yeah.
worst possible career choice for me. I would have
Yeah.
given up
You're
all
so creative.
creative. Yes, exactly. I would have given up all of my creative endeavors, my I had a career for 25 years as a belly dancer. I had my own dance company. I used to choreograph and design and teach. I'm an author. I'm a composer. I have my channel now where I share these creations with the world.
I love it. You're so good at it
Oh,
too.
I have a family and a daughter and grandchildren, and life is full.
Mhm.
And I cannot imagine had I chosen that path of isolation. And it is a non-creative pursuit. It's you trying to perform in the best possible way someone else's vision.
Mm.
And
I
now
love
there's
that.
a day that goes by when I'm not downstairs composing and recording my own music compositions, right? So sometimes it takes something traumatic for the universe to tell us, no, that's not for you. You're on the wrong path. You need to pivot. And it
Sure.
seems to me that you had a very profound pivot as well.
Yes. It's like, okay, you're not getting this. Let me make it plain as day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But
Exactly.
again,
And
the best.
for some people, New York is everything. And for some people,
Mhm.
New York is the right choice.
Mhm.
One of the friends, two of the friends actually, that I graduated from high school with, they were in my theater group. One of them now has been a lounge singer in New York for decades now. He has
Oh,
like 4 octave vocal range. He's amazing. And he's made
wow.
a career of it. He's been very successful. But when they were first leaving right out of high school to go to New York to perform, they begged me to come with us,
Mm.
because I was a singer at the time and a stage performer as well. We would all been in the same theater group and all this stuff, and I just knew that wasn't going to be the path for me. I thought, no, I'm going to stay with the piano playing, and then like a week later, the car crash came. So,
Oh no. Send a clear
well,
message for you too, I guess.
yeah, right. Yeah, they were a couple of grades ahead of me. So they graduated and went to New York, and I was still back in high school. But they were like, you don't need a high school degree, just come.
Aw. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, they're probably right. At that time, they're
yeah,
when you're
yeah.
creative. But
So sometimes the world is just not the place we thought it was. Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I went to New York, same thing. Wanted, musical purposes. I wanted to be the next pop singer,
Oh,
and
there you go.
yeah, I did
Yeah,
end up working for a record company, and
too.
in the contracts.
Uh-huh.
And the more I learned that side of the business, the less I wanted to pursue that. It was like, maybe that wouldn't have been the best path. And of course, God knew that. And,
Yeah.
but that turned into worship, much, much later, that turned into, I feel the most alive when I'm, singing worship or leading worship. And that was where my heart truly was. I just didn't know it yet. So
Yes, exactly.
divine intervention.
Yes, exactly. And you still sing, I'm sure.
I do. I mean, I'm always singing around here, but I led worship for a long time.
There you go.
I never saw it as like a scheduled thing, every Sunday, or it was always for events, or, I'd get invited, somewhere, or, I led a team at Malone for worship, for community worship. And that was just
Nice.
so, uplifting. And, the way I see it is when it's time, to step into that again, God will present those opportunities. And, now I'm fine just singing, just singing at home, which really, that's where it starts. It's, if you, especially with worship, if you can't worship at home by yourself, that's where it starts. That's really the foundation of it. And then you can lead others. So.
That's beautiful. That's true. Very nice. So what is next for you? I know we were in New York. We got our book award, which was lovely. What is your next pursuit?
Oh gosh. I'm sort of I sort of find myself in a transition again.
Okay.
Um, I think I told you when we met, my mother passed away, and this has been a year of sort of processing that, and you know, coming to terms with that, learning to live really without her,
Yeah.
without that guidance, but or just listening ear, just that friendship. But I think now, obviously I love to write. I don't think that will go away. So that's definitely in the cards.
There you go.
I'm I'm building a home, and that's been fun. And
It is fun.
just that's the beauty of life, right? We have several callings throughout our life. It's not one thing that ends and then life is over, so
Right. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Always looking for the next creative expression in my experience. That's always been what's led me. I follow each passion to its fullest natural conclusion, and then
I
move
love
to
that.
the next thing. Then move to the next thing. For example, with the belly dance, I have a passion for ancient Egyptian culture, and music, and the Arabic rhythms. I was fascinated through the music.
Oh,
And
fun.
I began learning to play the finger cymbals, the zills, and
Oh,
got
wow.
those Arabic rhythms and started incorporating that kind of sound and that music into some of my own works. And I learned to dance. The belly dance came about as a need to rehabilitate my left leg. I had fallen on the ice and torn the nerves from the torso down the left leg, needed to retrain that leg. I was dragging the leg. I was really
Oh my.
took a lot of rehab. So
I'm sure.
in the process of just doing it for physical therapy, basically, and I fell in love. And it became a passion to where I actually started my own dance company. My book, Friendship Flies the Sun, the ancient Egyptian legend of Scarab Beetle, was written out of that passion. And we began performing that as an interactive children's theater production. And we did all the grade schools when they study Egypt. We would go and perform the show. We performed the book and get the kids up on stage with us. And it just really became a fun creative expression for me. Made many, many wonderful friends. One of my principal dancers that was in the company, her daughter is now my goddaughter. So these relationships are still there. They've carried forward, even though I've retired from the dance scene now. So it's a lovely thing, but I've been through enough chapters in my life now to realize that things have seasons and creative expressions have a time and a purpose in your life. And then when that has been explored to its fullest potential, it's okay to move on now and find the next thing that you're passionate about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that.
So it's always that thread of where does my passion lie and how can I express this and take it to its final logical conclusion and then say, well, that was fun, and let go and move on, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that prophetic revelation, I like to call it. Even just reading your story and reading the way you compose really spoke to me. Yeah. That's a gift, that's a gift from God. And
it is. It truly is. Of course, I have the bachelor's and the master's degree in music composition. Yes. And those are all in the background. Those are all tools in my toolbox. It's like I know how to use the hammers, right? But when I'm composing, that's all in the background. I will take a big inhale of gratitude and thank God for the music ahead of time. And I place my fingers on the piano keys and I begin to hear the song. And I write down onto the manuscript paper as I play it, one song at a time. And I am honestly hearing the note. And then I hear the next note. Then I hear the next note. And I keep writing it down and I go into a trance. And when I come up out of that experience, I always take this huge inhale like I'm coming up from underwater.
Wow.
And I put the pencil down and I have a completed manuscript in front of me.
That's
First note,
amazing.
last note, and I never change a note.
Oh, you don't? You don't ever go back
Never,
and, oh, this might.
never.
I
I
guess why would
never,
you have to if it's coming from God?
exactly. It is completed work. And every once in a while, I get to where, okay, it's like I don't hear it again. And then I go back to square one and I go back to gratitude and I go back to thanking for the music and I play it up to that point and then it starts again, then I can hear it again. But
Yeah.
it is a channeling is the way way I experience it. And at first I used to shake and cry. It was like my whole nervous system was getting too much too fast, like drinking from a fire hose. But I have done it so much now. I've channeled over 200 works now.
Oh my.
It's pretty
Wow.
amazing.
Do you
And
have them? Do you have them somewhere where people can listen to them?
actually, I do. If you go to my bestfriendsliveinthewoods.com, all of the scores are there, and you can download the music scores, and you can also download the recordings of the scores,
Oh,
the
fun.
performance of them. And also, I have all of the music on this channel. My Best Friends Live in the Woods are my original compositions that I channeled. And they are all in the background music for me narrating My Best Friends Live in the Woods, which is another novel that I've written to teach mindfulness and compassion. But I've also then taken those pieces of music and strung them back to back to back to back in long format videos and put them with cinematic nature videography that I've done. And some of it we've traveled all over. We've traveled to New Mexico. We've traveled to the Carolinas and filmed. Carolinas is all waterfalls. We traveled to the forest a couple of days when it was just pea soup fog, and I filmed the forest in the fog. It was just beautiful experiences. So the music is also highlighted in these long format music videos on this channel. So you can find all of it there, but the scores are available on our website, mybestfriendsliveinthewoods.com. So
okay, I'll have to check it out. I'd love to hear it.
It is lovely. It's a lovely experience. Working on composing the music for chapter 47 right now. So
oh wow.
It's Bunny Love.
Bunny Love.
Red Rabbit and Phyllis Rabbit fall in love.
It sounds so sweet.
It's very sweet.
Well, and I've started listening to, some of your videos. The night that I met you, I went back and I looking at your social media, and I love the way you narrate. It's just so, you have a voice for every character.
I do.
I think like you wrote the story, so it's the most genuine coming from you, because how you heard the characters in your head, and that's what's coming across. And I love it. So sometimes I'll pop on there.
It's like I'm channeling the character. I actually like become the character is how I can describe it. With each line that I deliver. I'm not acting. I'm being is how I would express it.
Yeah.
When Mother Skunk is talking, I'm her. I'm seeing through her eyes,
Yeah. That's a good way to describe that.
Yeah. So another type of channeling, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, the enchanted forest becomes very real for me. There's skunks running amok in my head all the time.
Mine too, but they're probably different kinds of skunks. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we've got the little forest critters, the animals, all in there all the time, chattering away.
Yeah, the foxes are in there running around the garden.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, it is fun. But that's going back to, that creativity, that expression with purpose, creativity with purpose, because when we allow ourselves to creatively express ourselves, I think that's where we find our truest joy.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I thrive when I'm able to express the different things that I'm creative in,
Yes.
and kind of the day to day. I feel like you really have to create the space to sink down into that, to allow that to flow, when we're kind of going through the day and doing the things that we need to get done, or maybe we have, a job, it sort of lifts us up out of that.
Yeah.
And it's not that it ever goes away, I think, you really have to be purposeful. No pun intended, but create the space to sink down back into that, and let those things kind of come back up to the surface. So,
Yeah.
you know.
That's very true. I think so oftentimes people are in a reactionary mode, and we have to understand that we have a tremendous amount of choice and control in who we surround ourselves with and the environment that we create for ourselves.
I agree.
One of the lines of Mother Skunk, when she's advising her daughter Bluebell that's getting married, she says, if you live in a beautiful home, it's because you created it. And so she's encouraging her to take ownership of that. Right? And I think we all need to do that in our own lives. We need to take ownership of the fact that we make choices every day, and we can choose to be in a creative space. We have to provide that for ourselves.
That's a good point.
Give ourselves permission to be in that creative space, right? Because so oftentimes I think our society, at least in Western society, we're very into our just the facts, ma'am, right? Kind of very dry intellectual. And yet I think when we live in a heart-centered way, so that things start here and move out, we are much more able to live in our own true, authentic joy.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's definitely, maybe we have to step away from some things that aren't, serving us to be able to do that.
Right, exactly.
That is our choice.
It is definitely our choice. And we are the manifestation, or the manifestors, I guess, both, of our own reality. Right? So anything that we feel as a heart-centered creative impulse, we can envision that for ourselves, that in our world, and we can bring it into being. So that's the beautiful way that the universe responds and interacts with us. I think we are co-creators.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That creativity is a gift. And, I can think of, for me as a believer, many, many instances in the Bible, where God is talking about creativity. And I mean, that starts with creativity,
Exactly.
Just the creation of the world and everything in it, and us. And we partner with God,
Exactly.
he gives us the gift, and he gives us the vision, and then we carry that out, like we, even just, building the house. It's like, I might have an idea of, something I want to do in a room. And then as I'm kind of walking through that, other things will come.
Sure.
And, maybe I have to draw it because I can't find the words to explain what I'm seeing. And then they either say, we can do that, or no, we can't do that. I don't know. But yeah, for sure. It's definitely a co-process. It's definitely, what are we going to do with the talent that we've been given, and the vision that we've been given?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that talent and that vision, I think, are divine gifts. I think it's part of us being all connected to the divine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this has been delightful. Tell everyone where they can reach you. Do you have a website? What are your socials? Because I'm sure people will want to reach out and they want to find your book.
Okay. I just created my website. It's
Wonderful.
yeah, authorSarahLynn.com. Sarah Lynn was taken, so
There you go.
authorSarahLynn.com. And I have a tag on Instagram for my book. It's Between the Lines Official, but it's Between the Lines, a novel by Sarah Lynn, because there are many Between the Lines novels out there, but you want Between the Lines, a novel by Sarah Lynn.
There you go. Excellent. And is this available on Amazon?
It's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Excellent. Excellent. That's all we need. That's perfect. We'll be able to find you then. Well,
Sure.
Thank you. This has been a delight.
Yes, I enjoyed it also.
I hope to meet up with you again. Maybe not in Newark, but that was a good time.
It was great to meet you. You were so kind. It was so yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Well,
And
thank you.
have that blessed day.
Yep, you too, Anne.